Green will stop you from trading faster. Myth 1. Trading is too hard. Now is the simple pattern with insights. Myth 2. Trading costs money. Nope, practice with demo dollars for free. Myth 3. Trading is a scam. Now with the license broken, Ready to try it out? Get the app.
What happens now for the future of the company? Where do you see it going? One of the things I found particularly interesting was what the new board was, how the new board was comprised, for OpenAI. Where previously you had like women on the board, like not, where previously you had people who had like no financial incentive on the board, now you do. And I wonder if you worry that guardrail that you were part of implementing is now gone. Do you
Listen, my lord.
let's now not focus
That's
on
it.
protecting people,
That's it.
finding a safer future, as
Lekker
opposed
met
to making
broodje,
money
man.
and getting the skill to be as good or as
Nee, maar dat is koud, man. Koud, ja.
Well, I
Ja.
hij doet punt voor mij op
our
de stickers.
previous governance structure
Stickers.
and
Hij
board
logo van
didn't work in some important
Op een
sense.
low dan.
So I'm all for
Low line.
figuring out
Oh, nee.
that and I'll support the board.
Hij is
They will
hij
do
is
that. Obviously the
Je gaat misschien een black and white doen.
and I think happens quickly.
Zijn medium.
And
Ik doe gewoon gedaan, nee.
people who
Klein beetje een black and white, ja.
advocate for people
Maar niet color niet meer doen.
Dus in auto gaan.
Really thoughtful about not only
Ik ben goed hier weg geweest. Maar
the
het is
lessons
kwaad als die op de hoek.
take from the
Ah, wanneer ik ook weer.
make these very
Ah, zo.
systems that interact with society.
Les zelf zo. Eerste keer gekregen.
De stickers van Kobe is er.
Ja.
Which is opening the data and sharing.
Bij Inkwise.
That was
Inkwise is daar bij je.
to have a second chance. Right? And I'm very about that.
Wie was Frans zo waren zo gebleven?
Um,
Op Belle Blaine of zo daar.
but yeah, like
Aan die kant.
diversifying the board, making
Ah,
sure
onder.
we represent
Ja.
all of the
Nee, win.
Inkwise is daar zo.
stakeholders that need to be
Lees het, ah ja.
figuring out how we make this a more democratic thing, continuing to push for governments to make some decisions governing this technology, which I know is imperfect, but I think better than any other method of doing this that we can think of so far. Engaging with our user base more to like let them help set the limits on how this works. That's all super important. That'll be one major thing going forward is boarding, extending the boarding governance. And really like, I know our current board is small, but I think they're so committed to all the things we were just talking about. Then there's another big class of problems. If you ask me a week ago, I would have said stabilizing the company. That was my top thing, but internally at least, I feel pretty good. We did not lose a single customer. We've not lost a single employee. Continue to grow. Well, that's pretty amazing. Continue to ship new products. Our key partnerships feel strengthened, not hampered by this, and things are on pace there. And the sort of research and product plan for the first half of next year, I think feels better and more focused than ever. But there's a lot of external stabilization we still have to do. And then beyond that, like, we're really confronting the possibility that we have not been planning ambitiously enough for success. We've had like ChatGPT Plus. You want to subscribe to ChatGPT Plus right now? You are not able to. You're not able to. We just ran out of too many people. Yeah. And so, given how good we think the future systems we create are going to be and how much people seem to want to use these, we have been like behind the airplane all year long. And we'd like to finally get caught up. I found myself constantly thinking about you as a person, when the whole board saga was taking place, and whenever there's a storm, I'm always interested in what's happening in the eye of the storm. Yeah. And I wondered, like, where were you when this all broke? Like, what were you doing? What was going on in your world on a personal level? The reason I laugh is the thing people say about me is I am good at sitting in the eye of the hurricane while it all turns around me, very and staying super calm. And this time, like, turns out, like, no, the experience of like being in the eye of the storm and cannot be calm. I was in Las Vegas at F1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You an F1 fan?
I am.
Who's your team? Do you have one?
Honestly, I mean, Verstappen is so good, it's hard to say.
Okay.
But I feel like that's the answer everyone would say. I still
No, actually, it depends on when they joined the sport. Like, I was a Schumacher fan, because that's
Schumacher,
when I was
obviously.
watching. Well, I mean, so Nigel Mansell, you know, like Ayrton Senna, you know what I mean? But yeah, okay.
Like,
No, Verstappen is, he's precise with it. I see why.
and just like it almost gets bored of like what going on with myself, but it's incredible. So I was like so excited for that. That first night, I got in like late on Thursday. That first night, someone like they forgot to weld down the manhole cover, so someone drove over it on the first lap, blew up like one of Ferrari's engines, and stopped the practice. So I didn't get to watch it. I never got to watch any race that whole weekend. I was in my hotel room, took this call, I didn't know who it was going to be, and got fired by the board. And it was just this like, it felt like a dream. I was confused. It was chaotic. It did not feel real. It was like obviously like upset and painful, but confusion was just like the dominant emotion at that point. It was like, it was just in a fog and a haze. I was like, didn't understand what was happening. It happened in this like unprecedentedly, in my crazy way. And then in the next like half hour, my phone, I got so many messages that iMessage like broke on my phone.
Wow.
And
Who was this from? Employee, everyone.
My phone was just like unusable because it was just like notifications nonstop. And iMessage like hit this thing where it would stop working for a while, then message got delivered late, then it marked everything as read, so I couldn't even like tell, like, so it was just, chaotic. And I was like talking to the team here, trying to figure out what's going on, like Microsoft is calling everybody else, and it was just like, it really was like unsettling and didn't feel real. And then I kind of like got a little bit collected and was like, you know what, I can go on and I really want to go work on AGI somehow. If I can't do that over there, I'm still going to do it. And just thinking about the best way to do that. Greg quit, some other people quit, started just getting like tons of messages from people saying like, we, want to come like work with you, however it's going to be. And that one, going back over now was like not on my mind at all. Yeah, I can imagine. It's just like thinking about whatever the future was going to be. But I kind of didn't have a sense of like what a industry event this was, because I wasn't really reading the news. All I could tell was I was getting like crazy numbers of messages.
Right, because you're actually in the small.
Yeah. And I was just trying to like, be supportive with OpenAI, figure out what I wanted to next, try to understand what was happening. And then flew back to California, met with some people, and kind of was just like very focused on going forward at that point. But also like wishing the best for OpenAI. But then I stayed up like most of that first night, couldn't really sleep. Also, there's just like tons of conversations happening. And then it was sort of like a crazy weekend from there. But I'm sure I still have not, like I'm still like a little bit in shock and a little bit just trying to like pick up the pieces. I'm sure as I have time to like sit and process this, I'll like have a lot more feelings about it.
Right. Do you feel like you just have to jump straight back into everything? Because to your point, you're on this mission. You can see in your eyes you're very driven, and the world has now tipped over a precipice that it can never return from, So you're moving towards something. All of a sudden, it doesn't seem like you'll be able to achieve it in the sphere that you're in. But as you say, Microsoft steps in, Satya Nadella says, hey, come and work with us, we'll rebuild this team. If there's one thing people say about Sam Altman if they work with him, is they say he is tenacious. He's unrelenting, he does not believe in letting life stop you if you have a goal and if you believe in something. And it seems like you're moving towards that. You said nothing about OpenAI, you weren't disparaging in any way. But it feels like it took a toll on you.
For sure.
Give your family 24-hour longer-lasting protection with Protex. Imagine getting fired from something that you built, like this guy. He built it. Oh, he built it. ChatGPT, and the bot fired him. It's like Steve Jobs.
And you still,
Huh?
you still doing it well.
Yeah.
Here's how I withdraw profit on a loan trade. I make a deposit conveniently in the deposit section. I analyze the price chart and open a trade. If the market conditions are just right, I'm in the green. Then I withdraw my funds in the withdraw section commission free. Install it today. I mean, I don't think it's anything I won't like funds back from, but I think it'd be impossible to go through this and not have it take a toll on you. That'd be really strange.
Did it feel like you were losing a piece of yourself?
Yeah, I mean, like this. We started with AI at the very end of 2015. Our first day of work was really in 2016. And I've been like, I was working on this on my seat for a while, and I've been like, full-time on this since early 2019. And it has like, AGI and my family are like the two main things I care about. So losing one of those is like, and again, it like, maybe in some sense I should say like, oh, you know, it's like I kind of work on AGI and they care really more about the mission, but of course I also care about like this org, these people, our users, our shareholders, everything we build up here. So yeah, I mean, it's just like unbelievably painful. The only comparable set of life experience I had, that one was of course much worse, was when my dad died. And that was like a very sudden thing. And but the sense of like confusion and loss, and you know, you've got like, in that case I felt like I had like a little bit of time to just really like feel it all, but then there was so much to do, like it was like so unexpected that I just ended up having to pick up the pieces of this life for a little while. And it wasn't until like a week after that that I really got a moment to just like catch my breath and be like, holy shit, like I can't believe this happened. So yeah, that was much worse, but there's like echoes of that same thing here.
I can only imagine. When you look towards the future of the company and your role in it, how do you now find the balance between moving OpenAI forward, continuously propelling yourselves in the direction you believe, but then also, you know, do you still have an emergency brake? Is there some system within the company where you say, if we feel like we're creating something that's going to adversely affect society, we will step in, we will stop this? Do you have that ability, and is it baked in?
Yeah, of course. Like we've had it in the past. Like we've created systems that we've chosen not to deploy.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm sure we will again in the future. Or we've created a system and just said, hey, we need much longer to make this safe before we can deploy it. Like with GPT-4, it took us almost 8 months after we finished training before we were ready to release it to do all of the online and safety testing.
Right. I remember talking to someone on the team.
And that's not a board decision. That's just the people that are doing their jobs and being committed to the mission. So that will continue on. And one of the things I'm really proud of about this team is the ability to operate well in chaos, crisis, uncertainty, stress. I give them like an A+ on that. They did such a good job. And as we get closer to more powerful, very powerful systems, I think that ability of the culture and the team that we built is maybe the most important element. You know, to like keep your head cool in a crisis and make good, thoughtful decisions. I think the team here really proved that they can do that, and that's super important. I saw this thing where someone was like, you know, the thing we learned about OpenAI is that Sam can run a company without any job there. And I think that's totally wrong. I think that's not at all what happened. I think what happened is, or the right learning is the company can totally run without me. And
It's a culture that
the team is ready, the culture is ready. Like, I think I'm just super proud of that. I'm really happy to be back and doing it, but like, I sleep better at night having watched the team manage through this given the challenges ahead. There will be bigger challenges than this that will come up, but I think in some subjective sense, I hope and believe this is the hardest one because we were so unprepared. And now we kind of like realize the stakes and that we're not just, in some like important sense, we're just not a regular company.
Oh yeah, far from it. Far from it. Let's talk a little bit about that. ChatGPT, OpenAI, whatever it may end up calling it. Because I mean, you've got DALL-E, you've got Whisper, you've got all these amazing products.
Game ideas, grand architecture ideas for us. I love it.
ChatGPT has done it. I feel like it is now. It is.
That's a horrible name, but it maybe totally put its
But you can't change. You think you can change it at this point?
I mean, could we drop it down to just like GPT or just chat?
I don't know.
Maybe not. Maybe
Sometimes I feel like a product or a name or an idea grows beyond the marketer's dream space, and the one will just have.
Yeah, no marketer ever would pick ChatGPT. No name for this, but we maybe suck at it and then we'll be alright.
Yeah, and it's now. I mean, just the multimodal aspects are like fascinating. I remember when I first saw DALL-E come out. And it was just an idea, and seeing how it worked, and seeing this program that could create a picture from nothing but noise. And I was trying to explain it to people, and they were going, "But where did we get the picture from?" I was like, "There was no picture. There was no source image." And they're like, "That's not possible."
Right.
They saw something. I was like, and it's so hard to explain some of this. Sometimes it's even hard to understand for myself. But when we look at this world that we're currently living in, we talk about them as numbers. GPT 3.5, GPT 4, GPT 5, 6, 7, whatever it may be. I like to remove the technical term in that way and talk more about like the actual use cases of the products. One thing we saw in a jump, or one thing we saw between products was between ChatGPT 3.5 to 4, we saw what we would call reasoning on a much higher level.
A little bit of it,
right?
yeah.
Like creativity in some
The
way.
first part of it.
Yes, exactly. And when I look at this product and this world that you're creating now, with general large language models and now the special large language models, I wonder, do you think that the use cases are going to change dramatically? Do you think that what might right now just be like a little chatbot that you blow up, like do you think this will be the way the product remains, or do you think it will become a world where everything becomes the specialized GPTs? A world where Trevor has his GPT that's trying to do things for him, and this company has their GPT that's doing things. Like where do you see it? Obviously, it's hard to predict the future, but where do you see it going from where we are right now?
I think it'll be a mix of this. It is hard to predict the future. Probably I'll be wrong here, but I'll try anyway. I think it'll be a mix of the two things that you just said. One, the base model is going to get so good that I have a hard time with Christian saying, here's what it won't be able to do.
Huh.
And that's going to take a long time, but I think that's where we're heading.
What's a long time on your horizon? What's when you measure it?
Like not in the next few years.
Okay.
It will get much better every year in the next few years, but like, I'm not sure if this answered. I think it's like highly likely there will still be plenty of things that in 2026 you can't do.
But doesn't the model always surprise you? When I talk to engineers who work in this space, when I talk to anyone who's involved in AI or adjacent to AI, the number one thing people say, number one word is surprise.
Yeah.
People keep saying that. They go, we were surprised that we were teaching, or we thought ChatGPT was learning about this field, and all of a sudden it started speaking a language. Or we thought we were teaching it about this, and all of a sudden it knew how to build bridges or something. So
for what it's worth, that was most people's here subjective experience of maybe between like 2019 and 2022 or something like that.
Okay.
But now, I think we have learned not to be surprised. And now we trust the exponential, most of us. So GPT-5, or whatever we call it, will be great in a bunch of ways. We will be surprised about specific things it can do and that it can't do. but no one will be surprised that it's awesome. Like at this point, I think we've really internalized that in a deep way. The second thing you touched on though is these custom GPTs, and more importantly than that, you also touched on like the person GPTs, like the Trevor GPT.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is going to be a giant thing of the next couple of years, where if you want, these models will get to know you, access your personal data, answer things in the way you want, work really effectively in your context, and I think a lot of people are going to want that.
I can see a lot of people wanting that. It almost made me wonder if, the new workforce becomes one where your GPT is almost your resume. Your GPT is almost more valuable than you are in a strange way. Do you know what I mean? It's like a combination of everything you think and everything you've thought and the way you synthesize ideas combined with your own personal GPT becomes, and I mean, this is me just like thinking of a crazy future where you go, you literally get to a job and they go, what's your GPT? And you say, well, here's.
We always think of these like agents as, these personalized agents as, I'm gonna like have this thing go do things for me. But it'd be interesting, what you're saying is what it instead is like how other people interact with you.
Right.
Like this is your impression, your avatar, your echo, whatever.
I can see it into that, because I mean, what are we, if not a combination of all of our,
It's a strange thought, but I can believe it.
I'm constantly fascinated by where it could go and what it could do. You know why? When ChatGPT first blew up, right, in those first few weeks, I'll never forget how people quickly realized that the robot revolution, I know it's not robots, but just for people, they're like, oh, the robot revolution, the machine, wasn't replacing the jobs that they thought it would. People thought it would replace truck drivers, etc. And yet we've come to find that no, those jobs are actually harder to replace, and it's in fact all the jobs that have been quote unquote like thinky jobs. It's like your white collar. Oh, you're a lawyer. Oh, they might not need as many lawyers when you have ChatGPT 5, 6, 7, whatever you want. You're an engineer. You are like where do you?
The human body is really an amazing thing.
It really is, right? It really is. Do you see any advancements where you think it could replace the human body, or are we still in like mind?
No, I think we will get robots to work eventually, like humanoid-like robots to work eventually. But and we worked on that in the early days of OpenAI. We had a robotics program.
Oh, I didn't know
we did. We made this thing that could do like a robotic hand that could do a Rubik's Cube with one hand. It takes a lot of dexterity.
I wake up and it's there, the voice telling me to give up. I'll never give up. Snowman, fight fatigue and energy loss all day, every day. Eat your slime. Snowman.
I think there's like a bunch of different insights rolled into that, but one is that it's just much easier to make progress in the world of bits than the world of atoms. Like, robot was hard for all the wrong reasons. It wasn't hard because it was like helping us advance hard research problems. It was hard because the robot kept breaking, and that it wasn't that accurate. The simulator was bad. And whereas like a language model, it's just like, do all that virtually and make way faster progress. So it like focusing on the cognitive stuff helped us push on more productive problems faster. But also, in a very important way, I think, solving the cognitive tasks is the more important problem. Like if you robot, it can't necessarily figure out how to go help you make a system to do the cognitive tasks.
Yeah.
But if you make a system that does the cognitive tasks, it can help you figure out how to make a better robot.
Oh yeah.
And so I think like cognition was the core of the thing that we wanted to thrust at. And I think that was the right decision. But I hope we'll get back to robots.
Do you have an idea of when you will consider artificial general intelligence achieved? Like how do we know?
Me personally, I do not feel like machine
Yeah, like what, because everyone talks about artificial general intelligence, but then I go, how do we know what that is?
So this comes back to that point earlier where everyone's got a different definition.
Yes.
I'll tell you personally what I'll do. When we have a system that can help discover novel physics.
I'll be very thrilled. But that feels like it's way beyond general intelligence. That seems like you're,
Do you know what I mean? It's beyond, I think, what most people would come to.
like maybe, because this is what I think of sometimes, is I go, how do we define that general intelligence? Are we defining it as brilliance in a certain field, or are we defining it as, like, a child is artificially generally intelligent,
For sure.
but you have to keep programming it, you know? They come out, they don't speak, they don't know how to walk, they don't know how, and you're constantly programming this, you know, AGI, to get to where it needs to go. So how do you, like, if you get to the point where you have a 4-year-old child
If
version
you have
of
a system
AGI,
that can just figure it out, you know, can just go autonomously with some help from its parents, figure out the world in the way that 4-year-old kid does, yeah, we can call that an AGI. If we can really address that truly generalized ability to be confronted with a new problem and just figure it out. Not perfectly, 4-year-old doesn't always figure it out perfectly,
Right.
but you know, then we're clearly going to get it.
are we able to get there if we don't fundamentally understand thinking and the mind?
Seems like it.
You think we can get there? Or can we get to a place where, so I'm sure you know about this. One of my favorite stories in the world of AI is, I think it was actually a project that Microsoft was working on. But they had this AI that was trying to learn how to discern between male and female faces, right? And it was pretty accurate at some point. It was like 99% accuracy. However, it kept failing with black people, and black women in particular. It kept on mischaracterizing them as men, and the researchers kept working, and they were like, what is it, 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 what is it? At some point, and this is, I mean, I tell the story this way, I mean, it could be a little bit wrong, but I found it funny. At some point, they sent, quote unquote, they sent the AI to, I think it was Kenya, right? So they sent the AI to Africa, and then they told the research team in Kenya, can you work with this for a while and try and figure it out? And then while the AI was running on that side of the world with their data sets and African faces, it became more and more and more accurate with specifically black women. But in the end, they found that the AI never knew the difference between a male face and a female face. All it had been drawing was a correlation between makeup. And so the AI was going, people who have red lips and who have like rosy cheeks and maybe glue on their eyelids, those are women. And then the other ones are men. And because the researchers said, yes, you're correct, it just found like a quote-unquote cheat code. You know, and you know how this works, way beyond like what I understand. But it just figured out a cheat code. It's like, oh, I understand what you think a man is and what a woman is. And it gave it to them. And then they realized, because black women are generally underserved when it comes to makeup, and they don't wear makeup, the system just didn't know. But we didn't know that it didn't know. And so I wonder, how will we know that the AGI doesn't know or does know something? Or will we know it's just cheating to get there? Like, how do we know? And what is the cost of us not knowing when it's intertwined with so many aspects of our lives, you know?
One of the things that I believe we will make progress on is the ability to understand what these systems are doing. So right now, interpretability is like made some progress. That's the field of like looking at one of these models, and there's different ways there's different drugs you can do this. You can try to understand what every artificial neuron the system is doing, or you can like look at it as the system is thinking step by step. You know, which of these do I not agree with? Okay, and there'll be even more we'll discover, but the ability to understand what these systems are doing, hopefully have them explain to us why they're coming to certain conclusions and do it accurately and robustly. I think we're going to make progress there before I think we're going to truly understand how these systems are capable of doing what they do, and also how our own brains are capable of doing what they do. So I think we will eventually get to understand that. I'm so curious, I'm sure you are too. I am. But it seems to me that we'll have more progress in doing what we know works to make these systems better and better, and having them help us with the interpretability challenges. And also, I think as these systems get smarter, they will just be fooled less often. So a more sophisticated system might not have made that makeup distinction and right from a deeper level. And I think we see evidence of stuff like that happening.
You know, there's two things you actually make me think of when you say not get fooled that easily. One is the safety side, one is the accuracy side. One of the first things, and I think the press ate this up, you remember, they were like, oh, the AI hallucinates and it thinks that it is going to kill me, and it thinks, and people are using the word think, by the way, with large language models, which I find particularly funny.
Yeah.
Because I always think like journalists should be trying to understand what it's doing before they report it. But they've done, I think, the general public a disservice in using the word think quite a lot.
I mean, I have empathy for it. Like, we need to use familiar terms, and we need to anthropomorphize, but I agree with you that it is a disservice.
Yeah, because if you're saying it thinks, then people go, well, will it think about killing me? It's like, no, but it's not thinking. You know, it's really just using this magic transformer to figure out where words most likely fit in relation to each other.
What do you think you're doing?
What am I doing? Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's what, and now, now that's what I was going to, right? Is the ideas that we put together. We talk about hallucinating. Let me start with the first part. Do you think we can get to a place where AI doesn't hallucinate?
Well, I think the better version of that question is, can we get to an AI that doesn't hallucinate when we don't want it to? At a similar rate to humans not doing it. And on that one, I would say yes. But actually, like, a big part of why people like these systems is that they do novel things. And if it only ever, like hallucination is this sort of feature and bug.
Well, that's what I was about to ask. Because like, isn't hallucinating part of being an intelligent being?
Totally. If you think about the way, if we think about the way an AI researcher does work, okay, they look at a bunch of data, these ideas, they write a bunch of stuff, and then they start thinking, well, maybe this, or this. Maybe I should try this experiment, and now I have this data back. So that didn't quite work. No, this new idea. But this human ability to come up with new hypotheses, new explanations that never existed before, and most of which are wrong, but then having a process and a feedback loop to go figure out which ones might make sense and then do make sense. That's like a key element of human progress.
Abolishing. There's a penalty. Oral B electric ceramic cuts each tooth to remove up to 100% more plaque. Unlike the manual brush that can leave up to half the plaque behind, switch to Oral B electric with Oral B paste. Say goodbye to cavities. Unreliable carefully by empty participating slaves and T.C.C. plan.
Making people sleep better because making people get comprehensive car insurance online in seconds.
How do we prevent the AI from, that garbage in, garbage out, like that scenario? How do we, right now, the AI is working off of information that humans have created in some way, shape, or form. It is learning from what we consider learnable material. With everything that's popped up now, the OpenAIs, the Anthropics, the Lambdas, you name them, it feels like we could get to a world where now AI is pumping out more information than humans are pumping out, and it may not be vetted as much as it should be. How do we then, is the AI going to get better when it is learning from itself in a way that it might not be vetted / did you get what I'm saying? How do we figure that out?
So it comes back to this issue of knowing how to behave in different contexts. Like, you want hallucinations in the creative process, but you don't want hallucinations when you're trying to report accurate facts on a situation. And right now, you have these systems that can generate these beautiful new images that are hallucinations in some important sense, but the good ones. But then you have a system that when you want it to be only factual, again, it's gotten much better, but it's still a long way to go on there. And it's fine. I think it's good if these systems are being trained on their own generated data, as long as there is a process where the systems are learning what data is good and what is who's bad, which again, it's not enough to say hallucinated or not, because if it's coming up with new scientific ideas, those may start off with hallucinations.
Which is valuable. Yeah.
But you know, what is good, what is bad, and then also that there is enough human oversight of that process that we are all still collectively in control of where these things are going. But with those constraints, I think it's great that the systems are going to be, future systems are going to be trained on generated data. And then you reminded me of something else, which is, I've been wondering, I don't know quite how to calculate this, but I would like to know when there's more words generated by, say, GPT 5 or 6 or whatever, than all of humanity at a given time. That feels like an important milestone. Actually, now that I'm saying that out loud, maybe it doesn't.
Generated in what way?
Oh, like where the model is producing more words than all of humanity in a given year. Because there's, 8 billion humans or whatever.
Yeah, that does seem interesting.
See how many words per year on average, you can figure out what that is.
Yeah. What does it give us, though, is the question on the other side.
That's why I was taking it back after I said it. For some reason, it feels like an important milestone to me, but
It feels like an important milestone in like a monkey typewriter kind of way, because maybe humans are, we're all monkey typewriting the whole time, and that's the way things. I think it's worth it.
like the amount of, I don't use the word think, so you're right on use it, but the amount of like, maybe we can, just the amount of like words generated by AI.
Yeah. I'm going to lose you soon, so I want to jump into a few questions that I think are ready for people who kill me if I don't ask of you. Okay, so one of the main ones, this is from my side personally. We always talk about AI learning from the data, right? They're fed data sets, and we talk about this data. That's why we need these mega computers that cost billions and billions of dollars so that the computers can learn. How do you teach an AI to think better than the humans that have given it the data that is clearly flawed? So for instance, how does an AI learn beyond the limited data that we've put out there? When it comes to race, when it comes to economics, when it comes to the ideas, because we're limited, how do we teach it to not be limited as we are, if we're feeding it data that's limited?
We don't know yet, but that's like one of our biggest research thrusts in front of us, is like how do we surpass human data? And I hope that if we can do this again a year from now, I'll be able to tell you, but I don't know yet. We don't know. It's really important. However, a thing that I do believe is this force to combat injustice in a super important way. I think these systems they won't have the same deep flaws that all humans do. They will be able to be made to be far less racist, far less sexist, far less biased. They'll be a force for economic justice in the world. I think, if you make a great AI tutor or a great AI medical advisor available, that helps the poorest half of the world more than the richest half, even though it helps lift everybody up. So, I don't know if I can answer to the scientific question you asked, but I do at this point feel confident that these systems can be, of course we have to do some hard societal work to make them effective, but can be great for sort of increasing justice in the world.
Okay, maybe that leads then perfectly to a second question, which is, what are you doing? What is OpenAI doing? Are you even considering doing anything to try and mitigate how much this new technology once again creates, the haves and the have-nots? Every new technology that's come out has been amazing for society as a whole, if we call it that. But you can't deny it creates a moment in time where if you have it, you've got it all, and if you don't, you're out of the game.
I think that we'll learn a lot more as we go, but currently, I think one really important thing we do is offer a truly free service, which means no ad support, which is a free service to more than 100 million people who are using it every week. And the fact that it's not fair to say anyone, because in some countries we still walk or still walk, but trying to get closer and closer to everything to do there, where anyone can access really high quality, easy to use, free AI, that is important to all of us personally. And I think that there's other things that we'd like to do with the technology, like if we can help cure diseases with AI and make those cures available to the world, that's clearly beneficial. But putting this tool in the hands of as many people as we can and letting them use it to architect the future, that is super important. And I think we can push this much, much further.
Okay. 2 more questions.
Can I add one more thing?
Oh, yeah, go on. It's all your time. Go ahead, yeah.
The other thing that I think is important that is who gets to make the decisions about what these things say and not say, or do and not do, like who gets to set the limits.
Yeah.
And right now, it is basically the people who work in AI that decide, and no one could say that's like a fair representation of the world. So figuring out not just how we spread access to this technology, but how we democratize the governance of it, that's like a huge challenge for us in the coming year.
Well, that sort of goes to what I was about to ask you. The safety side of it all, when we spoke about this right at the beginning of the conversation, when designing something that can change the world, there always has to be an acknowledgement of the fact that it can change the world in the worst way, or for the worse. You know, with each leap of technology, there's been an outsized ability for one person to do more damage. Is it possible, first part, to make AI completely safe? And then the second part of it is, what is your nightmare scenario? What is the thing that you think of that would make you press a red button that shuts OpenAI and all AI down? When you go, you know what, if this can happen, we have to travel now. What are you afraid of? And so the first one is, can you make it safe? And the second part is, what is your nightmare scenario?
The way I think about so first of all, I think the insight you started with, which is the number of people that can cause catastrophic harm goes down every decade, or roughly every decade. That seems to me to be like a deeply true thing that we as a society have to confront. Second, about making a system safe, I don't think of it as like quite a binary thing. Like we say airplanes are safe, but airplanes do still crash. They have people that like amazingly frequently. We say that drugs are safe, but people, you know, will still, the FDA will still certify a drug that can cause some people to die sometimes.
Right.
And so safety is not like, it's like society deciding something is acceptably safe given the risk-reward trade-offs.
Right.
And that, I think we can get to. But it doesn't mean things aren't going to go really wrong. I think things will go really wrong with AI. Well, we have to go to them. And I think society has like actually a fairly good, messy but good process for collectively determining what safety thresholds should be. That is a complex negotiation with a lot of stakeholders that we as a society have gotten better and better at over time. But we have to prevent it. And I think what you're touching on there is that kind of catastrophic risk.
Yeah.
So nuclear is the example everyone gives. You know, nuclear war had this very global impact. And so the world treated it differently and has done what I think is a remarkable job the last almost 80 years. And I think there will be things with AI that are like that. Certainly one example people talk about a lot is AI being used to design and manufacture synthetic pathogens that can cause a huge problem. Another thing people talk a lot about is computer security issues in AI that can just like go half beyond what any human can do, and certainly at any scale. And then there's another category of things that I think are interesting to do, which is if the model gets capable enough that it can help design the own way to like exfiltrate the weights off of the server and make a lot of copies and modify its behavior. More of like the sci-fi scenario.
Yeah.
But I think we do as a world need to stare that in the face. Maybe not that specific case, but this idea that there is catastrophic or potentially even existential risk in a way that just because we can't precisely define it doesn't mean we get to ignore it either. And so we're doing a lot of work here to try to forecast and measure what those issues might be, when they might come, how we would detect them early. And I think all the people who say you shouldn't talk about this at all, you should just talk about the issues of misinformation and bias and the issues of today, they are wrong. We have to talk about both. We have to be safe at every step of the way.
Okay, that's terrifying, as I thought it would be. So then I go to, by the way, are you actually thinking about running for governor? Was that
No. I thought about it very briefly in like 2017.
Okay,
16 maybe something like that.
I thought so. It seemed like a,
So like a couple of weeks, kind of like vague entertainment of an idea.
okay. I guess my final question to you then is, the what now of it all? What is your dream? If somehow wave a magic wand and have AI be exactly what you hope it will be, what will it do for the future? What are all the good sides? What are all the upsides for everybody out there? And I mean,
Positive things, but I think that's me.
that's not, you should always end on the positive.
Yeah. Look, I think we are heading into the greatest period of abundance that humanity has ever seen. And
I wake up and it's there, the voice telling me to give up. I'll never give up. Slow down. Fight fatigue and energy loss all day, every day. Beat your stomach. Slow down. That's right. That's right.
This is a true story. It happened right here in my town. A lot of people dying and not believing in things and you're not gonna find it in the news.
I mean, the two main drivers of that are AI and energy, but there are going to be others too. But those two things, the ability to like come up with any idea, the ability to make it happen, and do this at mass scale, where the limits to what people can have are going to be sort of like what they can and what we can collectively negotiate as a society. I think this is going to be amazing. We were talking earlier, like, what does it mean if every student gets a better educational experience than the richest student with the best access can get today? What does it mean if we all have better healthcare than the richest person with the best access can get today? What does it mean if people are, generally speaking, freed up to work on whatever they find most personally fulfilling, even if it means there have to be new kinds of job categories? What does it mean if everybody can, presumably you and I both have really well jobs, but I don't think that's true for everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
What does it mean if everybody gets to have a job that they love, and that they have like the resources of a large company or a large team at their disposal? So maybe instead of the 800 people at OpenAI, everybody gets 800 even smarter AI systems that can do all these things, and people just get to create. And I think this is remarkable, and I think this is a world that we are heading to, and it'll require a lot of work in addition to the technology to make it happen. Like, society is going to have to make some changes, but the fact that we are heading into this age of abundance, I'm very happy about it.
I'll leave you with this from my side. I'm a huge fan of the potential upside of AI. Like I work in education in South Africa, and my dream has always been to have every kid have access to the best possible tutor possible. Literally, no child left behind, because they can learn at their pace.
What's happening with children who are using ChatGPT to learn things? The story about how
It's phenomenal.
every day.
It's phenomenal. It really is.
It's like 14
Yeah,
it's phenomenal. I learned like all of calculus on my own.
It really is phenomenal. And especially as it becomes even more multiple when you're in video, and all of that's going to be amazing. I dream about that, to your point, healthcare. I dream about all of this. The one existential question I don't think we're asking enough, and I hope you will, and maybe you have been asking it though, is how do we redefine the purpose of humankind once AI has effectively supplanted all of these things? Because, whether you like it or not, throughout history you realize our purpose has often defined our progress. There's a time when our purpose was just religion. And so, for good and bad, think about it, religion was really good at getting people to think and move in a certain direction beyond themselves, and they went like, this is my purpose. I wake up to serve God, whichever God you were thinking of. I wake up to serve God, I wake up to please God, and it makes humans, I think, one, it makes them feel like they're moving towards something, and two, it gives them a sense of community and belonging. And I feel like as we move into a world where AI removes this, the one thing I hope we don't forget is how many people have tied their complete identities to what they do versus who they are. And once we take that away, when you don't have a clerk, when you don't have a secretary, when you don't have a switchboard operator, when you don't have an assistant, when you don't have a factory worker, when you don't have all of these things, you know, we see what happens in history oftentimes. It's like radicalism pops up, there's a mass backlash. Like, have you thought about that? Is there a way you can intercept that before?
How would you describe what our purpose is right now?
I think right now our purpose is it's
Now for the
survival
pot.
tied to the generation
Yeah, we're done,
of
yeah.
income in some way, shape, or form, because that's how we've been told survival works, right? You have to make money in order to survive. But we've seen that there have been pockets in time where that has been redefined. France is a great example where they had, I think they still have a version, but the Artists Fund, where they went, we'll pay you as an artist to just make things. Make France look beautiful.
Yeah.
And that was beautiful. I know you're a fan of UBI, for instance. Yeah, we shouldn't go before you talk about that.
Well, I don't think people's survival should be tied to their like willingness or ability to work. I think that's like a waste of human potential.
Yeah,
I think
wait, let me ask you this before you go. Is like, why do you think universal basic income is so important? Because you don't waste your time or your money on things you don't believe in. So you spend a lot of time and money on universal basic income. I mean, the last I saw was like there's like a $40 million project that you're a part of. $60 million.
I don't think universal basic income is a complete solution, of course, to the challenges in front of us. But I do think that like eliminating poverty is just inarguably a good thing to do. I think better redistribution of resources will lead to a better society for everyone. But I don't think giving away money is the key part of this. Like giving away tools and giving away governance, I think is more important. Like people want to be architects of the future. I think as much as I could say there's been a consistent thread of meaning or of like a mission for humanity, I think it is like, you know, survive and thrive for sure on an individual basis, but collectively, we do have an emergent collective desire to make the future better.
Yes.
Now, we get off track lots of times, but the human story is like, let's make the future better. And that is technology, that is governance, that's the way we treat each other, that's like going off to explore the stars, that's understanding the universe, it's whatever it is. And I have so much confidence that is so deep in us, no matter what tools we get, that base desire, that mission of humanity, to thrive as a species and as individuals, that's not going to go anywhere. So I'm super optimistic about what the world looks like 2 generations from now. But what you got at is really important, which is people who are, you know, already in their careers and actually pretty happy and don't want change. And change is coming. One thing we've seen with previous technological revolutions is in about 2 generations, it seems like society can adapt to any amount of job turnover.
Right.
But not in 10 years. Certainly not 5 years.
Right.
And we're going to go face that, I think, to some degree. As we said earlier, I think it'll be slower than people think, but still faster than society has had to deal with in the past. And what that's going to mean and how we have to adapt through that, I'm definitely a little afraid of. We're going to have to confront it, and I assume we'll figure it out. I'm confident we'll figure it out. And I'm also confident that, like, you give our children and grandchildren better tools than we had, and they're just going to do things that absolutely astonish us. And I hope they feel, like, horrible about how bad we all had it. Like, I hope the future is just so amazing. And this human spirit and desire to, like, go off and figure it out and express ourselves and design a better world and way beyond the world. I think that's wonderful. I'm really happy about that, and I think, in some sense, we shouldn't make too much of this, like, little thing. You know that scene in Star Wars where one of the bad guys is like, don't be too I think it's Vader, is like, don't be too impressed with this technology. Like, created, it's like nothing compared to the power of the Force.
Yes.
I do feel that way about AI in some important sense, which is like, we shouldn't be too impressed with this. Like, the human spirit will see us through, and it's much bigger than any one technological revolution.
I mean, it's a beautiful message of hope. I hope you're right, because I love the technology. The one thing choppy. No, you know what? And the one thing I would leave with you, Sam Altman, as Times CEO of the Year and one of the people of the year. I think you will continue to be that, especially in this role. because of how much impact OpenAI and AI itself are going to have on us. One thing I would implore you to have is continue to remember that feeling you had when you were fired, as you're creating a technology that's going to put many people in a similar position. Because I see you have that humanity in you, and I hope as you create, you're constantly be thinking about that.
You know what I did Saturday morning, early Saturday morning when I couldn't sleep? I wrote down, what can I learn about this that will help me be better when other people go through a similar thing. You can blame me, I can't blame the board right now.
Huh. And have you figured it out?
There's a lot of useful, simple lessons, but the empathy I gained out of this whole experience and my, recompilation of values, for sure was a blessing in disguise. It was at a painful cost, but I'm happy to have had the experience in that sense.
Well, Sam, thank you for the time.
Thank you. Really enjoyed this.
I hope we do chat in a year about all the new advancements.
You should definitely come do that. That'll be a
I will, definitely.
All right. Thank you.
It's something about mom's touch. It makes cough, headache, and rockers go poof. It's more than just a touch. It's Vicks Vapor. It relieves nasal congestion, cough, body ache, headache, and muscle stiffness. Good night's sleep. Vicks Vapor. Relieves very dry, itchy skin in just 60 seconds. Aveeno Skin Relief Moisturizing Lotion.
Social media is so multifaceted, right? So sometimes you're using social media to connect with family that are living abroad. Sometimes you're on social media to get your
WhatsApp,
news.
so I would ban WhatsApp.
Why do you ban WhatsApp? Why do you WhatsApp? What's WhatsApp?
African aunties.
What's this done to you?
They just
Love a bit of
Let
WhatsApp.
me tell you something. During COVID,
Nothing
the
sends photos faster.
listen, man.
Yeah.
The misinformation that African aunties spread about COVID during COVID.
It actually is one of the biggest spreaders. But you know why it became that?
They were like, gargle with salt and vinegar instead of getting the vaccine. And I'm like, this is not going to work.
That's just the wrong family. That's not my fault. That's from that people.
I think it's all of it.
People on my WhatsApp aren't saying anything like that.
You're either on WhatsApp.
People make them in the right.
You're listening to What Now, the podcast where I chat to interesting people about the conversations taking over our world. Today on the podcast, my favorite question: if I ruled the world? We love a good thought exercise on that, and this is one of our favorite questions to ask with friends. If you were in charge and you could change one thing about anything, schools, airports, commerce, restaurants, whatever it may be, what would you change? Well, we've got three folks on the show today with three massive ideas, maybe terrible ideas. Who knows? We'll see. Either way, joining me, writer, journalist, and professional hater, Cristiano Mbappe Medina, and one of our very own executive producers and my good friend and fellow football watcher, yes, you say soccer, Ben Winston. Let's get into it. This is What Now with Trevor Noah. I was trying to think of what the music is that's playing before the thing ends.
Trying to sing it to you.
That's actually really good.
It's real talent in mine.
It's almost like you did it. Welcome to the podcast, everybody. How you doing?
Good.
Terrific. You paused for such a long time.
Yeah, because we've got
Did you
kids.
pause because you're English, or did you pause? Oh yeah, please.
Yeah, it's probably a British.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we were being polite. I was going to go and ladies first. You can say how you are. And then
Yeah.
Oh,
It's always all right.
Oh wow.
And now I'm going to apologize for us for it because
Wow.
it was compulsive.
Well, happy podcast, everybody. This is an old colonial edition, I guess. It's like degrees of colonization.
Yeah.
We have the colonizer. We have one who was integrated into the colony, and then one who was just oppressed, but has made his way out.
I'm not going to come across well in this politics. If that's how
Why
you
are you
set it
assuming
up.
you're a realizer?
Okay, maybe I'm not.
So he's white.
This is fun, actually. This is fun. This is fun. Ben, we barely get to speak to you because you're always like off doing something. Like if there was an asteroid coming to Earth now, you would probably be asked to produce it as a concept. Like they'd be like, the world's ending. We would like to get Ben Winston to produce this for us.
Yeah.
The final ending concept of the world.
It's lovely to be here, Trevor, when 14 people have said they can't make it, and then I get that call. It's like, he's already a producer of the pod, no one else is about, we want to do it in person, let's just do that in.
Oh,
That's what we're
fake humility. Fake humility. And as always, the rose amongst the thorns. I love that phrase. Christiana,
Yeah.
how are you, friend?
I'm good. Feeling good being a rose. I'm normally like the thorn.
Why are you the thorn?
Because I'm just like, I'm a friend with the opinions that destroy the
I feel like maybe you've lived in like the Western world for too long. Because if you were in South Africa or many parts of Africa, I feel like you would be like the friend.
Yeah, of course, because it's just like, they like chaos.
Yeah, I mean, like think about Joseph, like our friend from Uganda.
Oh my God, we need to have him on.
Literally, there was a group text that was sent out to our soccer group, and they didn't mention his name, but they said, "Hello, gentlemen. Please note that this is a casual game, and nobody needs to be instructive, and stop telling other people that they're useless and what they need to improve on." And I sent it to him, and in classic Joe style, I said, "Joe, this is definitely directed to you." And he was like, "Oh, first time I've been called a gentleman." He wasn't even phased. But I think as Africans, we're blunt. We're like, whatever.
I
We're
know.
not being polite or anything. How are you doing, though?
I'm good. Where have you been?
Where have I
This
been?
is my favorite CIA asset.
Oh, wow. You always ask that question in such an accusatory way. And no, it's fine. It's fine.
I feel like you're optimistic.
You know what? You're not wrong. Where I am in the world is generally for a mysterious reason. And where I am in the world is actually the perfect question to ask for our brand new segment. It's time for the world, brought to you by T-Mobile, who can help you experience travel better. They have a whole host of travel perks that you'll love, whether you're on a day trip or your dream trip. Okay. I've debated whether or not I should tell you this.
Oh wow.
This is one of those moments in life where I like to be honest with my friends,
Okay.
but I also like to be right.
By the way, if a friend tells you he likes to be honest, I mean, he's a liar. But
What? Well, I can't believe you say that.
it's just that when men are like, oh, I'm really honest.
No, I didn't say I'm really honest. I said I like to be honest.
What's this got to do with where you've been?
I've been traveling quite a bit.
Yeah.
In part of my travels, I had a meeting and a conversation with the assistant director of military operations at the CIA. So yeah,
Interesting.
Is that what you've been doing? You've been having conversations with the CIA?
I think you've truncated everything I've said and made it sound a lot more clickbaity than it is. What did you do in the CIA? Again, you've just moved on from, you've now made it the whole organization. I just met an individual, lovely gentleman.
Okay.
And yeah, it was, but I wanted to tell you, because if I omitted it, I would always feel like I kept something from you that sort of made you right.
And why did he reach out to you?
You know, like, this is not like you reached out. We just happened to be in the same place and we were having a conversation.
That's strange stuff.
Where did that come
Yeah,
from?
that's strange stuff.
I've been to other places.
Well, I saw you recently. We literally bumped into
That was
each other
fun.
in an airport.
Yeah.
In Dubai.
It was in Dubai.
I wasn't in Dubai. I was flying.
You were coming from Abu Dhabi.
I was coming from Abu Dhabi, and I was flying to LA, and then we just happened to be texting. I was like, "Where are you?" He goes, "I just landed in Dubai." And I was like, "I'm in Dubai airport." He's like, "So am I." And we met at like a business day.
Yeah, we didn't meet.
And we had like a lovely 20 minutes.
It was
so bizarre.
I love those like encounters in those just randomly bumping into people in the world.
But you had been in Bhutan
Yeah,
for a load of months.
Yeah, Bhutan, Japan.
And now you've been in CIA.
Like it didn't involve the CIA, and I was traveling and enjoying good coverage. So let's jump into the podcast. But remember, I want to tell you that that segment was brought to you by T-Mobile, who can help you experience travel better with perks like free in-flight Wi-Fi so you can watch your favorite movies from 30,000 feet. Plus, You can return your dollar rental car without the hassle of refueling. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And get this, T-Mobile's got you covered with 5 gigabytes of high-speed data in 215 plus countries and destinations with Go 5G Plus or Next plans. Learn more at t-mobile.com/travel. Qualifying plan required. Wi-Fi where available on select U.S. airlines. Terms and conditions apply. I think it is time for us to jump into this week's podcast, which is really exciting for me because sometimes I think we limit ourselves in how we think because we think through the lens of what is and what could be. And every now and again I like to think to myself, what would I do if I ruled the world? And that's when I find the magic happens. That's when the true magic happens. So, I'm going to keep it open. So I've been thinking about it this week. If I ruled the world, I know this is going to be controversial, but if I ruled the world, I would shut down social media. It's done, it's finished, there is no more.
Oh. Considering especially people are probably watching a lot of this on social media.
Yeah, it's done.
It feels like you're being critical because how much stuff
I'm
is
not
going
being,
out.
no, I'm not being hypocritical at all.
All of that?
Yeah. Now, let's be clear about what I consider social media. So it is Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter, and
There's WeChat.
I don't think
That's
that's
social.
social.
I'm big on Tweet social. I love Tweet social. That's the white man with his panel. I actually have a huge
What's it like over there?
It's Twitter.
Wow.
And it's social.
Wow. Wow.
Tweet
Wow.
social.
Do they know that you're Jewish?
No, I hide that. I hide that. I thought I was hiding it in the podcast. So you're going to explain why you want to ban it.
Okay, so
we also, you, at the same time, need to acknowledge many incredible things that happen.
Okay, so this is what we do sometimes in society that is, like, there's this idea, and I think neuroscientists have stated, and psychologists, they've said that as human beings, we overestimate how happy something will make us, and we underestimate how unhappy something can make us. Alright? I think social media falls into one of those categories. We take for granted how unhappy it has made us as a civilization. We take for granted how much it's hurt us, how much it... so I'm not saying it hasn't brought the good things, but I think the good things are far outweighed by the bad. My issue is, we talk about TikTok and all these algorithms knowing us well. I think the thing we take for granted is that we're creating a feedback loop where the data that we're putting out becomes the data that we're getting in. What you don't realize is happening to you is, for the most part, the algorithm is contracting your view of the world and leaving you in a world where you like the things that you like. And it's just giving you slight versions of the things that you like. You get what I'm saying? And I worry about what it's going to do to us as a society. I don't know what it's already done. Now, I know some people are going to say, oh, but Trevor, I mean, because of social media, I know what's happening in the world. Yes, we knew what was happening in the world before social media. Did we though? We did. We did. But hold on. We did.
No, we knew.
Ask me about things, I'll tell you what I knew.
Okay, but here we're given the power, social media.
Yes.
And listen, I totally, one of the things I was thinking about in the lead up was maybe banning social media for kids who are under 16.
Orange, versatility. RLB electric ceramic cups each tooth turn up to 100% more plug. Unlike the manual brush that can leave up to half the plug behind, switch to RLB electric with RLB's paste. Say goodbye to cavity.
Let's make it more. With an irresistible taste of chicken. Now that's more. Don't just cook chicken. Make it more. With flavor.
And actually just letting them never have smartphones, but only have phones where we can reach them and find out where they are, because I don't think there's any good to be had from that. But essentially, back in the day, pre-social media, people would get their news from 5 organisations that would decide how to tell that news. And we have to acknowledge that now we are giving the individual power to tell their story that you're now taking away from them.
Yes. I hear what you're saying.
Which is works for your dictatorship, but might not work for the world.
I hear what you're saying, and I love you as my friend, but you're wrong. So, the reason I say you're wrong with such confidence, Ben, is because I'm not saying that I will get rid of the internet. The internet still provides everybody the opportunity to in some way, shape or form share their opinion. Social media has created a specific machine, an algorithm that is tasked with one thing in particular, and that is keeping our attention, keeping us engaged. So I'm agreeing with you, yes, there were maybe like 5 networks, but I think that will change. You know, cable news comes out, cable television, cable whatever, but then there's also the internet. You can go on the internet, you can search something, there'll be other websites, there'll be other news, etc. Because in the same way that you're saying social media has given individuals the opportunity to tell their stories, I think it's also robbed us of a collective understanding of what reality actually is. And I know that I'm sacrificing some things, but the things that I think we're benefiting from are the fact that reality starts to come back together, because your feed can feed you a reality that isn't completely real. How many times have people looked at, like, let's look at the conflict. You want me to do you know?
Yeah.
You're in an echo
Yeah.
chamber, happy there.
The thing
But
is,
you're unhappy there, I argue.
but life is suffering. Like, people can be unhappy, Trevor. Like, with or without the social... No, honestly, I think they're going to be unhappy. And I'd rather them be unhappy on their phones than out in the real world doing real damage.
But okay, think of it this way. Pre-social media, you are a crazy person somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
You have a crazy idea. How do you connect with other crazy
You
people?
start a religion, and you
But
have
it's
a whole...
very hard.
But people have cults, people...
Very hard.
So you're so
Very hard to really
You
blow
want to
up.
raise the threshold, is that what
Yes,
you're saying?
yes. Back in the day, a crazy person has to be on the corner, holding a flyer, telling you why you have to join their thing to end the government.
That is what you're saying, and again, I'm okay with it if you want to be that kind of dictator, but what you're
First of all, I
saying...
don't like the fact that you're calling me a dictator.
Well,
Actually, I rule the world.
You're sat in a room with your name everywhere.
I just said, no,
I can't move with Trevor Noah.
Yes, but it says with Trevor Noah. With. And you're with.
I am.
You're with.
I am.
And I think it's important to remember that.
Okay,
With.
but my point is, if you're saying there's mad people who were giving a voice to you, what you're essentially saying is you want to clamp down on free speech.
Yeah,
No,
censorship.
I'm not saying that.
You are because crazy people on the street corner, we're now giving them a megaphone. I'm not disagreeing with
How much
you.
is Elon Musk paid you there?
Oh no, I'm not. I'm all about the TikTok dance. That's what I want to do. Think of all the avocado toast recipes I'm going to miss out on. So I'm just saying that your reason on one hand is because we're unhappy, and I can
Yes.
take that, and then you move on to the algorithm is damaging, and now you're saying that crazy people on the corner are giving a megaphone. That's a widespread bullet to go.
It's because I think it's a widespread political effectiveness. So let's break them down really quickly. So I'll give them to you as a list. The reasons I think we should get rid of it, right? In my world, if I rule the world. Number 1, misinformation and disinformation. Spreading at a rate that is far, far, far quicker than any other traditional media could be. Number 2, limiting people's ability to live a life online that is making them more alone, more lonely, and feel artificially connected when in fact they're not. Right? Because it presents the veneer of connection that isn't in fact there. Number 3, I would go with it's fracturing our collective reality. Now I'm not saying we have to agree on it or disagree. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we all have to agree that it happened or it didn't happen. And I think social media is fracturing that. Social media is breaking it down. I'm not saying I will, but
Trevor, don't you think that, like...
wait, so neither of you agree with me here?
What, I
Wow. You have a parents, by the way.
The reason I don't agree is
You're
because I just think...
gonna wish your kids lived in my kingdom.
The world is a mess. I don't disagree, but I think social media is just exposing how fractured we already were. Most people never had a real sense of collective reality.
No, how can you say this?
Honestly, people...
The grasp for loneliness, if you look at the graph,
Yeah.
all that's happened, like, I'll say from the Industrial Revolution, that's when it really starts to go up. But if you look at loneliness from social media times, it's
Isn't it? Because we live in this, like, hyper-capitalistic culture where people have to work all the time.
Very
People
valid.
don't have money for, like, holidays and
Valid.
housing,
Very valid.
cost of living.
Very
So
valid.
even if people didn't have social media, they wouldn't have the means for connection because we're in this capitalist hellscape.
I can agree, and then I can agree with many
It's like
parts of
social
that.
media is just a reflection of like these kind of systems.
I agree.
Times there is.
You know what my favourite part of social media is? Close friends on Instagram. That little button. Have you ever used the little
Yeah.
close friends? Because then it can just be the 15 of you that you allow into your world, and then it's not a status thing, it's not a picture things. It's just a little close community. Just putting it out there. Lots of good things about social media.
Lots of good things.
I met my husband on Twitter.
Wow.
People, okay, here's what I'm understanding. Guys, let's go with,
Are you saying that you wouldn't want our children to exist? Oh, unbelievable.
Just because you met your husband on Twitter does not mean Twitter is now a good thing. A good thing can come from a bad thing. There are people who met like someone they liked in prison. I don't like prison. I'm not cheering for prison.
I'm so sorry. Look, I think there's lots of negatives. One of the things that I was thinking about genuinely was like, in the thing when you said let's do it about what we've changed, I was going to say let's ban social media for our
Okay, so now, let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this. Why would you ban it for under 16s and not for over 16s if it is such a good thing for the world?
That is such a good thing to work. I said I don't think it's bad.
If I remember correctly,
I think it's be regulated.
if we rewind the tape,
Yeah.
yeah, everyone can say, I love it, it is the best thing in the world, however, damn.
See, that's the problem with AI. You've made me say that.
No, but really, why should
I'm about it because I actually think the biggest problem with social media isn't about what you said. I actually think the biggest problem with it is the insecurity that kids feel and the bullying that can happen on there. And that's what worries me about social media. Far more than like an adult reading a Twitter feed and they should just know better to believe and research facts that they're getting rid of the truth.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that children are affected by the bullying and the shaping of their reality, but adults are not.
I think adults have the freedom of being able to not feel pressurized and they want to enter into that world where they're free. Like when people say, and it's going to be brutal, I say what I'm saying anyway, like, you know when people go in the news and they're like, I've had death threats. I've had death threats. On my Twitter, I've had death threats. I'm like, don't go on Twitter. We're not talking about somebody sending a letter to your house and then cut up like magazine letters and like real letters. I was just saying like some dickhead on Twitter who's like, I'm like, just don't go on social media, it's so upsetting to you. But like for me, I was on a flight yesterday, I was killed. I went on TikTok and you had a lovely time. No, I had a lovely time. I looked at Arsenal scores, I watched clips. It's the algorithm. What is driving that? Is the algorithm now knows you better than I know. Yeah. Because like it started sending you this show about a porn shop, not like sexual porn.
PAWA.
Correct. Which I never, it's like from the 90s, this shop, this porn shop is destroyed. And it's decided that I will like it. And it's right, I really do. And now I'm like, it's showing me, it knows what I like more than I saw that on a cable then, I was like, I'm not going to watch that. And now I've got that. The algorithm is such a precise algorithm. Do you not worry that you would be here to on social media? Would you have become, without social media, without people going, oh, I love that guy, I want to hear him talk about this? It's unlikely that you'd have the success that you've had. We would not be sat here today on with your name on the mug if it wasn't for social media. So are you not worried about the fact that you're having the hand that feeds you? What's the expression?
I am willing to accept that there will be some things we lose in society.
No, you got the house and cars.
No. I mean that honestly. I think sometimes it's hard for us to think about the possibility of a better future because we haven't lived in it. And I don't even mean this in like a dark way.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't grow up in an abusive household, I might not be here with you.
Right.
But would I want that for myself?
Are you saying that abuse times you for a friendship with someone?
In many ways it did. In many ways it did.
Okay.
What I'm saying is like, I do not think that we have to accept something bad because there has been good that has come out of it. There will always be good that comes out of bad things. Okay? But in my world, if I ruled, I would get social media and I would ban it. We would still have the internet. We would still have TV and radio. I'm not like creating North Korea, people.
Yeah, no,
You just have to learn your own dance in your own world. And you have to discover TV shows on your own. So okay, vote. Ben, are you in my world or not?
No, I'm afraid not. No, I wouldn't want to ban social media. Because I think whenever you take something away,
Yeah.
you create a vacuum that's filled with something else.
No.
And I worry more about what will fill that vacuum than what we will have by it.
Okay, all right, fine.
And I also think Christiana never met her husband. You would never be sat here necessarily because
All of
clips
it.
that went viral.
All of it.
Fine.
All of this. Christiana, are you going to my world or not?
No.
And business?
I just
Don't say, we'll take a quick break, and then when we come back, let's see what would happen if Christiana ruled the world, and then we're going to see what would happen if Ben ruled the world, and, yes,
Very nice.
we'll see, we'll be right back.
Bia, Mike, are you gonna do it yourself or what?
Yeah?
No. Are you going to do it yourself? Use a 3 round liner.
We're going to continue this conversation right after this short break. Okay, so I created the perfect world, and neither of you want to live in it, although you will send your kids to live in my world until they're 16, which tells me a lot. Christiana,
Yeah.
what would you do if you ruled the world?
If I ruled the world, I would abolish private schools.
Wow.
And say that every child goes to a school assigned by a blind lottery. So you don't know where in your city or your district where your child will go to school. Because I believe that would incentivize rich parents to make sure all schools are good. Because you don't know where your child is going to end up. And I'd make it mandatory for people in the community to volunteer in the school. You'd have to get like a CRB
That's a nice
check
one.
and make sure you don't
No,
need fire or,
what she's saying is true.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
abolish private schools.
Now, whoever without children probably never considered schooling or whatever.
I'm sorry, I spent 20 years of my life in school, my friend. I'll have you know that.
Okay.
So it's not a lot about schools.
So I spent half of my life in schools. I'll be honest, my initial instinct is yes. Like you know, I like this idea quite a bit. But let me ask you a few questions.
Sure.
Are you afraid that you rob kids of community? Because a lot of the time schools represent the communities that they're in, and while they may not be perfect when it comes to the education that they go out, but I do think we shouldn't take for granted what it feels like to be in a school that is part of your community, and what it's like to hang out with kids that speak your languages or come from your cultures, or you know what I mean? How would you deal with
My
that?
counter is that like most rich people, like the idea of a neighborhood school is collapsed for rich people. It doesn't exist. Rich people like to drive in LA, over 45 minutes across town to a fancy private school and be like, I don't want you to be around me.
But I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about, let's say, the poor middle class.
Oh, it's even better. They need to be able to be, like, this is who's probably going to be your boss, perhaps, right? They need to be integrated and be exposed to how, like, the wealthy and affluent people look. I'm actually doing a social experiment where everyone gets thrown into the blender together earlier, because the problem is it happens too late. It happens if you're really lucky, if you're a poor kid, maybe you get to go to an elite college.
Okay.
And you get there and you have a miserable time because you're like, who are these people? They played sports I've never played, they have references I don't understand, and it's an isolating experience. Or you get to meet them in the workplace, and you're like, oh, I don't want to be around this. They like air conditioning, it's always cold. Why do white people want to be cold all the time? If you go to school with them, you're like, oh, white people like to be cold. And you're used to it, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a thought that I have. Here's a thought that I have. We're now making the assumption that your opportunities in life come from your school.
Yeah.
When in fact there may just be a correlation between who goes to these schools and the opportunities that they receive.
Well, that's why I'm saying if it's a lottery, right?
But that's just a lottery for the school.
Yeah, it's a lottery for the school. So you could be like the poorest kid in your city, sitting next to the kid of, say, Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates is going to make sure it's a good school.
I hear you.
And the spread of opportunities, the speakers that you get at the school, the sports you do at the school, the computers you use, trust me. I'm just trying to spread the opportunities because parents.
You're allowed to donate.
Well, sure. Yeah.
No, I'm saying that's a big part of the school. No, because that's what you said.
I see what you've done.
I
just see what you've done.
Because then you're turning it into a private.
But that's what a lot of these like good public schools are essentially, right? They are privatized public schools in good neighborhoods. Because when your kids at school, you need to be able to afford to live in a house.
Ben, say, jump in here. I don't know, I was like watching a football match and I see a counter-attack.
Wait. So what it does, I actually don't care as much about like the parents giving their money.
Yeah.
The parents can afford to give their money. The mothers and the fathers, when you
Right.
use the correct, bake things, you know, all these people that look after the teachers, like that type of like social capital, the thing that's like very intangible, those parents. I want those parents to be involved in all children's lives.
Well, no, I was going to say that the issue you're bringing up is on the one hand, you're saying we don't want private schools, or we don't want extra funding for certain schools, and then on the other hand, you're going, a kid could say it's Bill Gates' kid, and then they got lucky because Bill Gates had funded the school. And then essentially, well, he does, you said he put his money in to put his money in to make sure that school's good. So then, when he's funded that school, then that school suddenly becomes the Bill Gates
No,
school.
you're describing a charter school, I don't want that.
No, but you're actively seeking donations from
No
rich parents
donation.
alongside.
Oh, no donation.
No donation.
Oh, wow, then what's...
No donation.
So then you want Bill Gates to bake rather than donate?
No, because I'm like, when you go to, and I say this as someone who, like, for primary school, it wasn't the best school. Secondary school was a okay school, but I ended up doing well in life. My son goes to a really nice school, right?
Yeah.
And the level of investment I just seen personally from the parents and the time they can give, I'm like, oh, it makes a difference. And not all kids have that. Some kids have parents that work night shifts. Some kids
The
have
knock-on
parents.
effect for the government funding of schooling, if we put your plan into place, if you rule the world, where are you going to get the absolute millions that it takes? Because
Where they get the money for the bonds.
I agree.
I mean, like, you see those
I
bonds
agree
that
with
they
that.
buy? The bomb money?
You agree with the bonds or the micro?
No, Christiana's
They
point.
put the
She's
money.
right.
They
There's
put the
money.
money. They had the money when they wanted us all to take the COVID vaccine shot, which I took. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, guys, just before you get on me. The money. The money. I'm saying, the money is
You're
there.
right, you're right. They spent $1 trillion on the F-35 jet that didn't work. They got the money.
That is such a ridiculous way of playing politics.
No, but they're
Okay, let's create a huge problem.
Why we create the problem?
Investing in children is a problem.
Quite the opposite.
Okay, wait.
I would say you're actually investing less in children.
No,
Wait. I'll say this and then you speak and then we'll go from there. So, I think what Christiana's saying, if you misinterpret how the money moves, it can seem like you're creating a gap. But if you look at how we currently run schools, let's say in America, in many parts of the world it's different, but in the US, for the most part, a school's success or failure, if it's not private, is determined by the zip code that it exists within. In Christiana's world, if I'm correct, and you will correct me if I'm wrong, I think what Christiana's saying is our tax dollars now become amortized, and you can't just aim rich neighborhood money into one school where they now have like random programs like lacrosse donkey dancing, which is excess money, and it goes to all the schools. And so she's saying because of that, because all schools will get all money and all parents will have kids in all schools, all parents will want all schools to be good because they don't know where their kid will end up. So it's not more money, it's just the money will be spread out differently.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's right. Because I think that private schooling essentially means that there is a load of government money that is not being taken care of by those wealthier parents who can afford private schools. Let's say, and I don't know the percentage, what percentage would you think goes to private schools over public schools?
People money.
No, people. Let's say in America.
People is nothing, but money is the thing I'm worried
But
about.
my point is that that amount of money is coming from the parents, it's not coming from the government.
No, we don't care.
But let's say it's 10% schools, now you're taking that 10% and you're creating that burden on the state school
so
system.
that's not
Because
what.
now you're having to
So,
spread
like,
how much investment you're making, and you're not allowing donations from parents in your system. So suddenly, an education system that was already stretched, that didn't have, you're now going, all of those people that were willing to pay for education, that wasn't our government problem, now you are our problem.
So this is what I'm saying. So like in LA right now, they are under-enrolled because of a combination of COVID, people leaving California and all this stuff, and there's like a lot of schools are at risk of closure.
This is true.
And when we say you can no longer have that route of plucking your child out of the system, it creates a different set of expectations of the government. So parents like yourself are going to be like, we're going to make sure that's a good school, right? To get the money, it's never about the money. The systems are underserved. There aren't actually enough students. Like the schools are under-enrolled. And by the way, I just want to say that this is a thing that I find a lot of affluent Black and Asian parents like have a dilemma about. It's something I think about a lot.
How are you?
So my eldest kid is 4, and my youngest is 10 months. And the funny thing is, with the public schools that are really good, they're not very diverse. right? But the private school, I'm not like that. So like now it's like I want to send him to a good school, right? And in my mind I'm like, okay, public school, great option, free, but there's a risk he'd be the only black kid in the class. Private school, that's not the case. You've got black kid, Asian kid, Jewish kid. And the private school is really, they're like, we care about diversity and inclusion for our school brochure. So they're like, we make sure we want one American. Like we've got a non-binary Latino kid with full.
So what are you gonna do?
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
You haven't decided.
I don't know what I'm gonna do. That's why I want to ban them.
So wait. So here's something I would want to ask about your magical world, right? This is you ruling this world. Unfortunately, when you look at history, you will see that time and time again, if you try to do this type of system, people who are rich, people who may be a little bit racist, I'm not even saying racist people, I'm just saying a little bit racist, like, you know, just sprinkle with racist. Those types of people will find ways to get their kids out of or into something else. Let's look at a recent example, COVID. COVID came, a lot of parents didn't agree with what was happening, and what did these parents do? They're like, you know what, we're actually taking our kids out of this little Zoom system you have, and we're going to create little pods. I believe you now may create with your system, you may actually create a bootlegger movement of schools where parents are going to be underground with like speeches.
Listen, that's happening in this country already. You know, you've got this homesteading movement, unschooling movement, homeschooling movement.
You don't think yours will accelerate it more?
Well, I think there's always going to be like the people who say, I'm going to pull my kid down, try and get around the system. But most people, especially parents, are lazy. This is what you underestimate. People are very lazy. And no one wants to be with their kid all day. Oh my God. No. It's like, if you're like, okay, take the mom and the dad, you have to be a parent, teach your kid, they'd rather kill themselves.
Ya memang aku mau beli di sini. Gimana tuh tinggal di sini? Saya mesti.
Ano to? May bas. Ito si Intendo naman. Nagsalong fat, maadrikiyat. Maano ba iso man?
Just work with it. Nothing tougher.
They're going to start it, I'm sure. Some people will be like, okay, we're going to do our pod. Week 2, they're going to like send these bastards back to that integrated lottery school and figure it out.
I'll throw this last thing for myself out. Just think this would be the case.
Ano
But
sa
don't ever
sini?
forget,
Sebelah sana.
America used to have public swimming pools. They would
incentivize
people would go to the corner, they would jump in the pool. See you at the pool.
Number 5 man.
See you at the pool, Jamie.
Number 5 naman.
You watch movies from back then, there was always a public pool. That's where the bullying was. I'm gonna punch you. And then one day, America passed on. And America said, these pools should also be open to black children. And the black children came to the pool. And initially, there was just a little bit of racism. People
Adriya siya pa once.
black, people peed in the water while they were in it, some acid and etc. But even as that died down, what happened to the pool? They started closing. They stopped getting funding. People were like, I don't really need pools. And what happened at that exact time? Private pools started going up. The idea of having a private body of water in your house was a crazy concept pre the 1960s. And now I'm like, I want to house with a pool. I'm like, why? Because there is no pool. And I think what you may be creating unintentionally is a world where those same people will go, okay, actually, why are schools even a thing in our society? Maybe we should close schools down.
I mean, we're kind of on the road there with the classes.
But I think yours would literally everything South Africa to me bad. Like your it would just be like an exodus, and we look back and go, wow. You know there used to be a time when there was schools, public schools, and people like, I can't believe it, and they've all been gone. And so that is why I would not be voting for your world.
Wow.
I think there are many great the ideas behind it. I love. But I would, as much as I
Away with bus.
sitting next to like some other kid from like Compton who's telling him why Kendrick won.
Bypass man dit man. How are you? Kaya may kagre ko siya.
Adriya, Redaus.
Kung gigo man, puso ka pa sa artist na kasi mura ka kom.
Mura. Hoe gaan we met vriend?
Kan je komen volgende maandag, man?
Volgende week maandag.
Ja.
De rest op de
Man, ik ga morgen jou al bezig met zien.
We zijn niet aan.
Ben je met foto of zo?
Hij weet je wel, hij weet je wel, hij is een
Kijk, sorry.
Hij is wel die mensen gevierd.
Ik moet je laten zien. Ja. Lijkt net zij. Dit is mijn kind. Dat is een naam Naldo.
Heb je dit te slaan niet meer voor me? Ja, we hebben zo'n mooie naam hebben, vriend.
Een mooie naam, hij is mooi gemaakt. Baby.
Ja, en er is mooi buiten.
Nee? Wanneer mager, wanneer trouw je?
Ja, dat is nog meer iets, heel veel uitpakken. Hij is nog arbeid hier gekomen.
Hoor je, hoe kom ik aankomen? Dat zijn 70 bucks bro. Nee, ja, mijn bro. Jullie die zijn dan zo te gaan, puta. Je moet niet die zijn dan zo te gaan. Kan ze kalian? Hoe kom je met jullie binnen, mijn bro?
Hij kan dus ook aan mijn vrienden. Zuster is bange dan. Kan ik daar wel niet in?
Ja, nee, Redaus.
So if you said, for like 2 months every year, kids all go to a different school.
This is like the premise of alcoholism.
Jullie zijn maar, hij nog gelopen nog. Jullie zijn maar mannen. Wie zei? Oké. Ik denk dat het.
Push everybody else out of the way to get what we need. There's a sense of community. Integration that's needed in schools.
Yeah, I feel like we should be equally invested in everyone's children, not just
Nee, Redaus.
because when that child grows up and robs you, you're going to have some opinions on it.
Gooi een paar dronen samen met mijn vrienden. Een paar dronen samen.
Para wat?
Een paar dronen.
Moest je een paar drones samen?
En maar met hier weer klaar.
Ik kan maar niet dronen, wat? Drone. Redaus, hoe doe je nou?
If I rule the world.
Ja, ik.
Then Christianity against the empire strikes back.
Ja, nou wel goed.
Then he voted against Christianity. So,
En nou lang leven.
well, I look at a few things on the way in, and they were,
Ik weet dat we bij jou te doen.
brushes on stylish girls.
Wat er mij? Jo, ba. Ba, ze had er mij. Hoe oud is hij nou dit uit, hè? In 1996.
Hij is al gedaan.
The plug.
Als je wil dan gaan, ben je gaan. Ja, Bruno.
Hij is de rest, ja. Kepi juice. Ja, weer. Ja, weer. Redaus samen zo. Weer, duidelijk bijna.
Which came from religion, but for me it isn't religious. And I think that we should make the seventh day, and not for religious reasons, because we're worried about God or whatever else. I think the seventh day should be a day of rest, where we go extreme. No electricity, no phones, no driving, where for one day, 24 hours, we switch off. We exist with our family and friends. We eat together. We drink together. We don't go down to the shops and get the stuff, prepare for it in advance. We don't work. We exist with whatever we've got. Go for walks. We enjoy each other's company. We switch off from everything else in the world. And I think that actually it comes from something that came in my childhood. I grew up Orthodox Jewish, right? So my family, they wouldn't use cars on Saturday, we wouldn't use phones, we wouldn't work. And my dad is quite well-known sort of infertility specialist. He would be working from 7 a.m. till 11 p.m., 6 days a week.
but from a Friday night to a Saturday night, as a religious family, we were just with each other. The time we would spend together, the joy that would bring us, the switch off that we knew for 24 hours, I just had my dad and like nothing else mattered. And we would all be together and exist together, I think is such a beautiful thing to have and to almost like reset. Because whatever job you do, whether you work down the store, whether you host a podcast, whether you're a doctor, nurse, whether you do something silly like make TV shows like I do, it's always the most important thing.
Alweer, hè, dat was een boete. Jeetje, zijn man van waarheid, joh. Dat maar die randje.
Ah, die mijn broer.
Alweer, nee, nou kunnen wij naam broederen. Duidelijk, jongens, man. Zie je maandag, mijn boete. Sharp.
We need other people. So what we would have to do on this day is we would go, right, all day Saturday or Sunday or Friday, doesn't matter, we can choose. I'm open to whatever my cabinet feels about it and we discuss it in government. But the one day that we choose, everything stops.
Okay,
Everything stops.
No flights.
So if you are...
No flights, because then you need the air hostess. I'm saying for one day to shut down. And think about what before.
Yeah, hospital.
If you get in a car accident,
Hospitals.
wait, hospitals are allowed?
Yeah.
So who's working in the
Life
hospital?
and death. Anything that is life and death, shift work. Anything that is life and death, we carry. No one should die because of my policy. I don't want anyone to die.
You
I'm
know,
not going to
for some people, the liquor store is life and death.
But then they can stock up. Friday they stock up. Like many religious people do. They can get drunk on the stuff, but they stock up and you get ready for it. It would also be incredibly good for the environment. Because for a day everything's ground, electricity, planes, cars, it would be phenomenal for the world. And for one day, do you know what? We all just chill out.
Okay, so, John, I have a bunch.
So, I like it.
Thank you.
It was-
Let's just vote now.
I'm kind of like access. I just realized something.
I didn't want to like it because I'm like,
I should have been the
But-
American on this podcast. Because Josh is, I should have, in fact, for the next of the segment, I'm gonna be the American voice on this. I don't agree with what you guys are talking about. Okay, this is trash. Okay, but Christiana, go ahead. You go ahead.
No, you know, it's because like growing up, we went to church on Sunday, but the thing is, my dad's a pastor, so it felt like work. It was always a bit much, but what I did love was after church, we'd always have like a family meal and people would be over that. So like Sundays are a lot of good memories. We'd have
100%.
apple pie and custard. It just created that. There's something about a ritual as a collective group that is very
100%.
grounding that I lack now. Do you know what I mean? Because like, oh, my mom's going to listen. I don't go to church. I'm very much Christian. Myself in trouble. But like, you know, and the people in my world don't observe any rituals. Because you know, if there's a day where everyone's like, okay, Sunday I'm going to be free, but everyone's so scheduled it's impossible to make plans. And I do feel that there's something like a collective, we all know that you've got nothing happening on Sunday, we can come together.
And I think what religion gives people, if you take out the religious bit, right? If you take out the God-fearing bit, you take out the going to church bit, you take out the guilt bit,
Yes.
you take out all of those elements, and then you're just left with a day of rest.
Hello, what's faster to ride to leave that lasts long for up to 12 hours? Try Elite and Adder today.
Actually, like, literally rest. And that can be joy and fun and enjoyment. Then you've actually got the really great side. There can be no doubt that is beneficial to us all. I think actually just to go 7th day, bang.
Okay,
No work.
okay.
I love it.
I feel you, I get it.
Thank you.
Okay, I think both of you are probably tired, and so you just like agree
Yeah, we're tired,
like
guys.
ridiculous ideas right now. So let's go through this.
Okay.
Then let's go through.
Let's
So
have
maybe let's start at the top then, because you are ruling this world. And what happens to people who don't rest? Do you arrest them? Do you? I'm here all folks. With the joke. What do you do? And I'm being serious. I'm asking, what do you do? Because no one can use my social media because it's bad.
Okay.
So I'm saying, what do you do?
Well, roads are
don't
shut.
rest.
Well, roads are shut, so they can't drive, right? You're not allowed to
Who
drive.
shut the road?
The police.
So they shut them without control? But
No,
now,
you just can't drive. The roads are.
but how do you can't drive? What I'm
You can't
telling
drive.
you.
Oh, you can drive actually for emergencies.
So this is what I'm saying. So I'm talking about the pandemic is a perfect. You know what I love about the pandemic? It was one of the most powerful